I just noticed in the chat box there that next to Mark Robinson, it's got him down as a guest. I had that problem before, and I don't know why. I don't know if it's significant. I don't think Mark can speak or type in the box, because that's what happened to me before.
Right. Mark, are you there, Mark? Can you just do a test in chat? Right, Joe, I've just had a message from Mark and he can't get access. Is there anything you can do your end to change that status? Yeah.
It's not showing him at all now.
Unknown hello.
That was not known, that was me.
Oh. We can't not have the mayor.
Sorry, was that to me, Joe? I'm logged on my town council. So I have to go into the, I have to go into the Outlook and click the link that Chris sent. Yeah, I get that. I wonder if that's because I don't have a tablet, so I log in using my home computer, but I log into the email first and then click the link, but I'm able to talk, so.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Ah, we hear you now.
Thank you. I'm the same as Terry. I don't have a town council tablet, so access it either via my Brecon tablet or my desktop at work. But thank you.
Okay, so everybody's okay now then. Yep.
Welcome, Mark.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So if we can get started then. So this is the first meeting of the new mayoral year since mayor making on the 29th of May. And we also welcome Councillor Burnett, who's on the audio link, so he can engage in this meeting as well. So before I ask for nominations for the position of chair, can I just remind people at mayor making, 10 councillors were approved to be members of venues, events and marketing going forward into 2021. All of those councillors have the right to vote, and in the event of an equal outcome for the position of chair, the casting vote will be deferred to the Mayor, Councillor Mark Robinson, who is in attendance. We'll put him in now. So, can I go to agenda item 3920, which is asking for nominations for the appointment of Chair of the VEM Committee 2020-2021.
When you call out, could you give your name, please?
So, have we any nominations?
Yeah, Councillor Harvey, Mark Robinson, please.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Who was that, please? That was Mark Taylor.
Any
Is
other
that Mark
nominations?
Taylor?
Yeah, Mark Taylor, Chris.
Thank you.
Any other nominations? No other nominations? Is everybody in agreement?
Aye.
Yes.
Agreed.
Okay, there's no need to vote if there's only one. So
No.
but I've got a proposal as seconder.
Yep.
I'll record
So-
that Mark Robinson is the chair for 2020.
So Councillor Mark Robinson is the chair of VEM for 2020-2021. So can I ask you to take control of the meeting, Mark?
You can ask.
Please.
Thank you, colleagues. And I just before I move on, carry the item on, I just want to offer a note of thanks to Councillor Hollis for her chairmanship the previous year.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm now going to look to receive nominations for the vice chair of the committee for the year 2021. Can I receive nominations, please?
Terry Jeremy, I'd like to propose Carla Barretto, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. And do we have a seconder?
Yeah, I'll second that. Chris
Sorry,
Harvey.
is that Chris?
Is that Councillor Harvey?
It is, yeah. I'll get this right in the end, it's procedure.
Thank you. Do we have any other nominations?
Hang on a minute, I'm trying to get my hand up.
Okay, is that Councillor Hollis?
Councillor Hollis, yeah, I've got a concern on the nomination for that one because of conflict of interest on certain measures that have been, buildings that have been rented by Councillor Barretto's.
Okay, can I just answer that? I think the item, recognising your concerns, I think the items that we received nominations for the position of vice chair, I'm sure as the next item will outline, where there is a disclosable pecuniary interest, we're all bound by our code of conduct and standing orders, so that will come forward. I'm looking to guidance from the officers, though. I'm not sure we can address those concerns under this item. Am I correct in my reading? Chris, David?
I don't know whether Tina's on the line. I'd have to defer to the town clerk for that one.
Would you like me to ring while we're waiting?
Can I come in there, Chair? It's Terry.
Yes, please.
It's governed by the Code of Conduct. So if at any point we discuss an item which anybody has an interest in, they declare it at that point. So it's not actually relevant to the role of vice chair or indeed a committee member. If you were chair or vice chair or just a member of the committee, if you had a pecuniary interest, you would have to leave. So it's actually irrelevant to the proposal in the second. So I'd suggest we just move to the vote.
Okay. Are you okay with that, Councillor Hollis?
Can I say something, Chair?
Just one moment, Mark.
I am, Mr. Chairman, but I will refrain from voting on this one, please.
Okay. Listen, I don't want to dwell on this too much because I think,
Just one quick point, Chair.
yes, Councillor Taylor.
I'm trying to figure out where Councillor Hollis is going, but she could be opening up a Pandora's box because anything on from what she's trying to focus on could actually bring a lot of trouble onto the council as well from the paperwork I've seen.
Well, look, I'm going to thank you all for engaging with the subject, but the actual matter in hand is to appoint a vice chair for the upcoming year. So I think we know where we stand with disclosing interest, pecuniary and otherwise, and we all hold each other to account. But the actual item is to nominate a vice chair. I'll offer again. Is there any other nominations? I'm taking silence is golden. So Councillor Barretto is due. Oh, sorry. Any abstentions?
I will not. I won't be voting on this, Mr. Chair.
So Councillor Hollis is abstaining, Chris.
No, as a no vote, please.
So you're voting against.
I am not voting at all.
Okay. Gentlemen and ladies, what would help me facilitate this meeting is when someone's speaking, if we can, just defer our comments till they've reached the end of their statement or question, and that way it makes it easier for the public to engage with the meeting as well. Okay, so we have a little bit around about face, Chris, but all those in favour?
Aye.
Aye.
Agreed.
Yep. No problem.
So as I took that, Chris,
Yep.
one against,
Yeah, thank you. I've got that. Thanks.
and the rest of the committee for, no abstentions.
Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. Moving on, timely. So I
Sorry, Chair. Could I just say a couple of words, please, once I've been elected to Vice Chair? Very quickly.
No, Councillor Barretto, I think we've reached a good point.
Okay.
And I appreciate you may want to respond to Councillor Hollis's comments, but I would really like to address the business on the agenda today.
Okay.
And maybe that's a conversation offline between the two of you.
I was directed to Councillor Hollis alone, which is a general comment. I wouldn't be getting to a personal discussion with a particular councillor, to be honest. But I appreciate it, and I'll leave it for the end of the meeting. Not a problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Barretto, and I look forward to working with.
The same. Thank you. Thanks for the vote, everybody.
Okay, so let's move us on to agenda item 40/20, which is declarations of any disclosable pecuniary interest. And as is my normal practice, I'm quite happy to take those now or as we arrive at an item. Do we have any disclosable pecuniary interest, colleagues?
No.
Well, not for this particular agenda, unless there's any items on the agenda that haven't been put down previously on the paperwork.
Well, I'm sure people, as we come to an item, it might jog something if they need to declare.
That's correct. Thank you.
Swiftly on to item 41/20. Apologies for absence. Do we have any, Chris?
None received.
Marvellous, thank you. And 42/20 is to confirm the minutes of the committee meeting held on the 22nd of May. And they're to be received.
Over.
Just one moment, please, Dennis.
Yeah, well, I'm not seeing what's happening. Okay.
Dennis, we've just got the agenda. And I'll quite happily, if you can't see anything, just slow down a bit so you're fully informed all the way through the meeting. Is that okay?
Well, sorry, Chair, to interrupt you. That was uncalled for by me, but it's just normally the agenda is rolled forward so we can see what the items are on the agenda. All I've got is town council thing. So my apologies for interrupting. So.
No, that's okay. But the only thing I would say in response to that, we have had the agenda sent out last week, so we do have the opportunity to familiarise ourselves ahead of the meeting. And I think it's as a visual aid for the members of the public engaging. But I'm going to refer back to item 42/20, which is to confirm the minutes of the committee meeting held on the 22nd of May, and they're going to be received at full council on the 30th of June. So I'm going to take you through page, if you, I can't see the hands up, David. So if someone puts a hand up, please let me know.
I'm looking at that, Mark. Okay.
Oh, thank you, Chris. Thank you for your help. So page 1. Page 2. Councillor Wright.
Yep.
That's an old message. That's from 108.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor, on page 2, we have a recommendation. Are you all familiar with that, or do I need to read it for you?
I can't see the recommendation.
Okay, I'll read the recommendation on page 2 under 897/19, that Thetford Town Council accept the tender for the changes to the Guildhall toilets to make the ramp safe and the display case in the entrance hall for the figure of £61,860, with the funds to come from the Heritage Lottery funding agreed in the minutes 15th of January 2020.
There's a note from Chris Harvey says the minutes are not scrolling, but I don't
Well,
think the minutes are on there, are they, David?
The minutes are not on there, no, it's just the agenda slides.
Yeah, thank you.
And that's not scrolling either. So,
It may be that yours is frozen, Dennis, I'm sorry, but they are scrolling on this end.
Can I make a request to committee members, please? This is obviously, still fresh territory for us to hold our meetings virtually. And we are getting the paperwork prior. Can I ask that I have your feedback at the end of the meeting with what you see as the issues facilitating your engagement in the meeting so we can get better at this?
We need to cancel it and get in the open air, Chair.
Well, as I said, Mark, I'd appreciate the feedback at the end of the meeting because I'm very keen to get on with the business of the day. So if you all be so kind to put your thoughts in an email to myself and the officer, that'd be appreciated. And by all means, copy everyone in so we'll all see what's coming forward. So I'm on page 2. You have a recommendation, which I've read out. You all are happy with page 2?
Aye. Yep.
Thank you.
Yes.
Page 3. I'll take the silence as agreement. Yes. As I only different. Thank you, David. I'll get those signed off and dropped off to the office.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, thank you. Okay, item 4320 is our health and safety matters, and the first item of business is to appoint a health and safety representative for our health and safety matters. Would someone like to nominate? If not, I will.
I was going to say, can I nominate Councillor Harvey again, please? He's very good at it. He picks up all snags, etc. So I nominate Councillor Harvey if he wishes to do it.
I'll second that.
Who is that?
Colin.
Thank you, Colin. So, do I have any other nominations? Okay, all those in favour?
Aye.
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 Any against?
Well, apart from yourself.
No, Chris, I've actually, just to let you know, I'm really pleased you're taking up this position. And I've had a note come through from your wife. She's happy you're out of the house more.
Thank you.
Okay. I do apologise, Councillor Harvey.
No, not an issue.
Congratulations on your anniversary, by the way.
Yeah.
I move you on to item. Sorry, I was about to move away from that item. Are there any health and safety updates, David, that we should be aware of?
Nothing further since our last meeting on the 22nd. Due to the situation that we have currently, all the venues are closed, and apart from the issues that I went through last meeting, nothing more to report. Councillor Harvey obviously hasn't been able, as most people can't, to do the inspections, but he will hopefully work well with us again in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's quite now more than ever. It's an important area with how we, as we ease on lockdown and come back into more normal circumstances. So I look forward to engaging with you on that, Chris.
No problem.
Thank you. Item 4420 is a review of the VEM Committee Terms of Reference. These were sent out by Chris last week, and I believe you had a copy of the current Terms of Reference sent to you, and a new set of Terms of Reference sent to you.
Mr. Chairman, I think Terry's got his hand up.
Sorry, Terry.
No, you're right. I've only just put up just a couple of points on Terms of Reference, if I can. The second bullet point where it talks about quorum, I've been in a couple of situations, particularly at county, where the rules refer to quorums, which is great if you deal with a certain numbered committee. But where we have 10 members and the quorum is a third, that could lead to difficulties in the future. So I just wanted to throw that in there, because how we've got round it on other things I've been involved in is you determine at the start of the year what the quorum is. So in our case, would it be 3 or would it be 4? Or 3.5, we just have a very short person. But we might just want to, have a process to bottom it out at the start rather than deal with it at the end. And the only other point was right near the end, and it might be overkill, but I have read it through. The last where it says A, B, and C on the second page, and it talks about delegated powers, and it's to book performers for events within a maximum risk of £2,000 per single event. I just want to maybe adding on to the end of that sentence, within identified budgets, because it's kind of implied. Of course, we would, we have a budget for events and performers and the like, but it's that amount, 2,000, but within the overall budget for events and that sort of thing. But they're the only two observations I had.
David, thank you, Terry. David?
Yes, Mark.
The document that Terry's reading, that's the current terms of reference, isn't it?
The document that has A, B, C, D, E, F is the current document. The second document is the one that we've been asked to review in all committees, which will be displayed in the new format. But the issue that Terry has highlighted then is still replicated in the new format. It's in the third page of that document. So if the committee instructs, I'm quite happy to include that additional within the overall budget.
What, the booking of performers?
Yes. So if you look at the new document, you'll go down responsibilities of committee. Yes. There is second from last bullet point, item 2. It does say similar sort of wording to the original document, and we can just include for all events within an overall budget, an overall agreed budget.
I made some minor adjustments myself, actually, looking at the two documents. Terry's covered off my piece regarding that being Cora. In the current documents, it states, it outlines that the chairman, in the case of equality of votes, as a second or casting vote. It doesn't include it in bullet point 2, and I think that just might be useful across all the committees. That, I know the chairman doesn't necessarily have to exercise that casting vote, but it's probably useful to have that reference in there. And if you turn to the final page of the suggested new terms of reference, the top bullet point, to review and agree, and it says at least annually. For me, that's a little bit too fluid. We do review them annually anyway, so I would remove at least.
The reason at least is in there, Mark, is simply because it does we have an obligation to review them annually, but this gives us an opportunity, and it could be very pertinent at this time, that we've already agreed it. We've agreed it going forward, but it gives us an opportunity to look at it once again if our budgets require us to do so. But I can certainly take that out if committee instructs.
Well, I'll open it out to colleagues, and I'm sure they've all got views on this document. I'm looking for hands up. Who's that?
It's Chris. I say there's nothing on there at the moment, Chair, on the chat line.
Okay, I heard somebody speak. Stuart. Thank you, Stuart.
Yeah, I think we've got to allow flexibility, and for the sake of keeping the word in at least annually, just leaves the door open, because I take David's point that we are in a strange times, and we will be wanting to look at it because whatever budget we've set, 6 months ago may not be appropriate halfway through the year. So I think just leave it in there at least annually, because the minimum should be once a year.
Okay. Any other comments, colleagues?
Can I just make one comment, Mark?
Please, David.
So just going back to yours and Terry's original point about Corit, the reason we've had to include this in the new terms of reference is because some of the old terms of reference didn't actually replicate what we are instructed by Town Council standing orders. Standing orders does actually state that all committees should be 1/3, but not less than 3. So if we was to change this, you'd have to bring it up at full council and change standing orders.
Okay, thank you. Do I have any other comments? Okay,
Can I just say, hello, Mark?
Hello, Mark.
I'd just like to say I'd be more comfortable with 4 people making a decision than 3. 3 just makes me feel uncomfortable. So
I think probably where councillors were coming from, Councillor Taylor, was the fact that our committees vary in size. So I think the point was made that with VEM, for instance, it's 10. With ALP, I think it's 12. But with something like cemeteries, it's 4. So if you would quite easily cancel a cemetery meeting with only, but you would be able to go if one was absent with the 3. So it's a tricky situation if you're playing numbers and percentages, but that's the standing orders as they are at the moment. It would have to be taken up at full council.
Chair, can I speak?
Please do.
Yeah, I'd like to see, I mean, 4 on the committee and then talking about a quorum sounds a bit ludicrous. Couldn't we make the committee bigger?
There's 10 of us on it at the moment, Mark.
Ah, right, okay. I thought when he said there was only 4 on it for this year.
No, we're talking about being quorums.
Yeah, I just think a higher number on the quorum is more comfortable than the... It just gives a wider scope for debate, I think,
Do other councillors have a view on that? I mean, moving from being quorum from 3 to 4?
I agree with Mark Taylor that we should have 4. That's Colin.
Can you repeat that, please, Colin?
I say I agree with Mark Taylor. We ought to have 4 on this committee, anyway.
Can I just say that in respect of a civic committee, for instance, their terms of reference tomorrow with the civic committee tomorrow, that actually does state 4. And tomorrow we're going to have to look at that to replicate what it says in standing orders, which is 3, which is the whole point of this agenda item, to try and regulate it across the council committees.
Chair, there's a hands up from Terry.
Terry?
Yeah, I was just going to add that for the bigger committees, VEM and ALP, I think 4 is sensible. For the smaller committees, it's not workable because you would only need 1 person to be absent for the meeting to be in quorum and the whole thing's abandoned, which has happened for some of the smaller committees. So I think, I think that's a full council decision, as David said, to sort of look at reviewing standing orders, and perhaps Mark, as chair of full council, you can sort of take that forward. We'll be reviewing standing orders at some point anyway, because they've only changed on an interim basis. But the wider point about whatever the quorum is, if it's going to be greater than 3, it needs to be defined at the start of the year, because otherwise you'll get mid-year when you've got an odd number and you can't divide it, or a number that you can't divide by 3 very well. We just need to build in somewhere in the terms of reference identification or agreement of what the quorum is at the start, rather than halfway through when you actually want to work out what it is. But I think it's probably something to, for people to go away and have a think about, rather than get too bogged down in at this point.
Councillor Barreto.
Yes, thanks, Chair. Just want to mention that somebody raised the point with the civic committee being quite small, and this is a note for Chris to take on, please, as well. I will not be able to attend the civic tomorrow, which just kind of brings us to the whole point of sometimes we don't have enough committee members in meetings. The reason being is because I have the council chairmanship course exactly starting at the same time as the civic committee, so I'll have to be on the course. I won't be on the civic committee. In regards to the quorum, I know that we are following standing orders from across the council. So we have to be I'm just wondering if we have to be mindful that if we change it for a specific committee, if we're obliged to keep it across the board with all the committees, the same rule for all of them, or if we can make different rules about the quorum for different committees. That's what I was wondering. Thank you.
And I'm going to hospital pass that to the officers. Over to you guys.
Again, I have to say that it's something that you're going to have to take up with full council to review standing orders, because it currently states the clause in our terms of reference. But that's the anomaly of having differing levels of councillor membership. That we've got several council committees that only have small memberships, like allotments, cemeteries, civic, and large ones like ALP and VEM. So it does beg the question that perhaps you should have a scaled terms of reference in terms of the core clause. But again, you'll have to take it up with full council, I'm afraid. At this moment in time, Mark, it is as it stands at the minute. We have to adopt this because that's our standing orders in terms of this particular part of the terms of reference.
David, can you be just a tad clearer for members when you say we have to adopt this? Because we were sent out two documents, and the item is actually to discuss. So, are you recommending that we adopt the new or maintain the old?
Well, there is, apart from the slight change in one of the references to the delegated budget requirements for event purposes, which I can change, there really is no change. It was just making it clearer in terms of the core element of our committee to be aligned with standing orders. So when I say we adopt it, we're just really discussing whether we should whether we like this format, this template.
Okay, but there are subtle changes in it. I mean, I referenced the point about on the current version, we outline across the committees actually that the chairs of the committees have a second or casting vote. That's missing in this updated layout.
And yes, we as a committee we can agree to include that. So yes, if we've made those two reference amendments, then yes, we need to adopt the new terms of reference with those inclusions.
I've got Councillor Wright would like to come back in.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just following up from David's comment about the scalability of committees. I think you've got that scalability by the third being there. It's just a matter of whether you round up or round down, which we need to clarify.
Well, I hope that's clear, colleagues.
Yes.
How would you like to proceed?
Yes, please.
Carla?
It makes sense. I'm happy with that.
I think what committee needs to do is to accept the changes that have been referred to by Councillor Robinson and Councillor Jeremy, and if we all agree those amendments can be made, and then we adopt the terms of reference as it stands. At the point about core, you'd have to take up through a different forum.
Okay, and I've duly noted that. Stuart, you're up again.
Yeah, I'll just, David, for amount of reference, do we make reference to whether we round up or round down when we do the third calculation? Or is that something we do need to get standing orders amended for?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't even. It doesn't even say that. It's just a third of the total membership, but not less than 3.
I'm just wondering, something we need to probably tie down a bit.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
you could with 2 big committees like ALP and VEM that have 10 and 12, you could run that committee with 3. But with cemeteries that probably has 4, you could still run it with 3. So there is an issue to be discussed, but you know.
Okay.
So the question is, do we adopt the new inclusions, Mark? And if so, then we can do that.
Colleagues, you've heard the question. This will be a resolve, won't it, David?
Yes.
Yes, it will.
Thank you. So, colleagues, are you in favour of that?
Aye.
I agree.
I'm happy with that.
Thank you.
Yes.
Before I move on to the next item, Chris, can I just check? I'm just looking at the participants in the meeting and the numbers dropped. Have we lost somebody out of the room because of a link or something?
I'll have a look. Hang on, people. Is Colin still on? Colin, you still on?
Yeah, I'm still here.
No, I don't think so. I'll just check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9. Yeah, because the only person that's not here today is Brenda.
Okay, so
She wasn't here.
she part of the,
So 9, I've got 9 are still on there.
Chris, you know, I just want to clear, you know, when I've done apologies,
I said no, because I hadn't heard from Brenda. Oh, here's Brenda. Brenda just sent a note to say, please accept, I'm dealing with an issue, she says. So can I give you her later apologies? That's quite in order to do so.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to move on now to item 4520, which is the weekly markets, and it's specifically to review the first phase reopening of the weekly markets, which took place on the 6th of June, and also to review the market store orders, trading terms and conditions. Over to you, David.
So the first part is just to give you a quick update of the 2 markets. In actual fact, the 6th on Saturday and yesterday the Tuesday markets, both reopened with limited stalls as we discussed and agreed at our last VEM meeting on the 22nd of May. The conditions weren't particularly great to reopen a market after so many weeks of absence. It was very wet and windy, extremely windy. But the traders, I was in attendance at the market for the whole duration, and it gave me a real good opportunity to both welcome them back and talk about issues and how we move forward. But they were very pleased at the end of the market that you know, it was very worth their while to make the journey, and some of them do actually travel up to 45 miles away to attend Thetford Market. But footfall, in my opinion, was still low, which again, it can only be expected after a 10-week absence. We will have a further extension of the market on Saturday. More traders will return. We've been in communication with them, ensuring that they adopt all the safety measures that they need to comply with government guidelines, etc. So hopefully we'll enjoy sunnier weather this Saturday and more traders for people to come along and patronise. So I think we didn't have any real problems. So I think, you know, we've made the right decision, and the traders are very welcome to, very pleased to be back, and we very much like to see that. In terms of, sorry,
David, before you move on, because this item's in 2 parts: the phase reopening and the market store orders, trading terms and conditions. I'm going to split it into 2. So you've updated on the weekly, the phase reopening. It'd be a good idea to actually, at this point, to ask members for any feedback, comments on that particular matter.
Yeah.
Yes, please, Chair.
Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, just listening to what David said, I think one of the reasons which is helping the lack of footfall is the public toilets. I do have quite a few people complaining to me that when they're coming into town to try and support, there's nowhere to go for the loo. on top of that, I've got various people just doing it everywhere, which I'm rebuking and sorting out. I think we need to make a priority, hand in hand with the markets opening, to get the public loos open, and that will bring more people into town, and that will help the stall holders. I think as a council, we've got to make that a priority, these public toilets. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Jeremy.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Just following on from Mark Taylor there, I agree actually, and I've made that point at Breckland, Mark, that if they're running this campaign about having confidence in shopping in the town centre, a real important part of that is people having access to public toilets, because particularly the amount of time you can spend queuing at the moment. I mean, I've been in queues for the post office and Lloyds Bank the other day, and you queue for a long while. Your average shop at the moment takes a lot longer. You can't nip into Wetherspoons or Subway or any of these other places really and use the toilets at the moment. So if we want people back into the town centres, using the toilets is crucial. So just make that sort of point following on. I did have a couple of points on the documents that were circulated, but I'm struggling to follow which one specifically we've talked about. There's two.
Sorry, just to, this is, we haven't moved on to the terms and conditions yet. This is about the market reopening last week.
Yeah. So the document I've got in front of me is the one that says reopening of Thetford Weekly Markets update report. That's the one we're on, yeah?
Yes.
Super, thank you. Just a couple of points, David. What are we doing as a council to help promote those market traders coming back? I saw some stuff on social media, which I think was shared a lot, which was great, but I would really want us as a council, those that are coming back to us are clearly loyal to the council, loyal to the town, whatever you want to phrase it. I would want to see us doing everything we can to promote them with, you know, social media, adverts or whatever. And the other point about the number of cars being left on the marketplace, which interrupts the operation. I think other markets are better signposted than ours about the fact when you shouldn't be parking your car on there. I think we do have some signage from memory. I haven't checked recently, but other markets I've been to, it's quite clear when you shouldn't be leaving your car there because the following day there's a market. So that was just a general point about signage. And then lastly, just reading that document, bear with me, let me just find the relevant part, because it talks about, this is where I have to scroll rather than writing on a document, I can't find it now. It talked generally about closing the market temporarily while there was some work going on. Oh, here we are. I would request that we close the market whilst those building works are being completed. I wasn't sure if that was a typo, David, whether that meant we would close the marketplace or market square and relocate the market elsewhere, or just not have any stalls. My point would be that a key part of business is about regular trade, and fine if we want to not allow people on the market square because of the building work, but we should find those stalls placed elsewhere to open, because if we're just getting going again and then we stop to allow a closure to take place for a week or however long, customers come, they can't go there, then they go elsewhere, and that interrupts the trade. So I just want us to sort of make sure that we can accommodate elsewhere or do something so that there's not a gap in service, really, is what I'm saying.
Thank you. I've got Councillor Wright.
And then Jen Hollis.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, just really to support of what Terry said about the interruption. I think it would be best if we do have to close a bit off, just to park a certain area for the workmen. I know it might interact with the markets traders, but I think once we've given the signal we're up and running, we should, you know, try and keep it going on that site. Otherwise, people say, oh, I don't know where it was, where it's going. In terms of the signage, we do have the sign on the entrance, and maybe that can be where we put another thing underneath to say this place is closed on market days. All cars will be removed. I'd be reluctant to put too much signage around the Guildhall, given we've done a lot of work decluttering around there, and the shambles have been beautified as well. So it's one of those trade-offs really of doing the signage, but also not detracting from the image of the Guildhall itself. So possibly where the entrance sign shows parking for Tuesdays and Saturdays as a cross on it, something could be added underneath that, because that will be seen as people enter the car park. and maybe somewhere else, a small way, we can look to do something. But we have discussed this before.
Thank you. Councillor Hollis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What I was thinking is, can we move the market as it is at the moment down to the small market where we used to have market stalls, and then that way it's still in the vicinity of the market square?
I think that might be a question for you, David, if you're able to answer that one.
Okay, so can I go back to try and answer in some of Terry's questions and some of the other councillors' questions? Absolutely, on the first point, promotion is absolutely key, especially after such a long layoff. We are getting better and better with our marketing comms. I did have a great opportunity on Saturday and Tuesday to talk to some of our real long-standing stalwart councillors, and they are all up for additional promotion, doing profiles and things like that. So hopefully we can do that. In terms of signage, it's something we've discussed in the past. The signage is very, very poor. If you travel in a car along from the roundabout outside the Green Dragon, if you're the little mini roundabout, you cannot read the sign until you actually turn right into the car park, and then it's too late. You're parked, you're looking to do other things. So we need to look at signage again and make sure that we complete that task and get it improved. In terms of movement of stalls, I'm sorry my report may have been a bit misleading. We've just come out of a meeting with the architects and the contractors about the Guildhall, and the works will commence very soon. We were aware of that being imminent. So again, I've taken the opportunity to talk to the traders that did attend on Saturday and Tuesday about some of the issues we might have with Harris fencing around the entrance of the Guildhall. And again, to take the point about trying to be consistent with how they are allowed to trade in terms of being regular positions for customers to find them, etc. It's not going to impact on their trading as much as what we thought. It may move a couple of traders down a little bit. And what we did do both on Saturday and Tuesday, it's likely to be the fishmonger, if you like, because they are traditionally parked right outside the Guildhall building. We moved her down several metres to where she will be from here on in if the fencing is up. And actually, when the improvements are made with the extended entrance and ramp, she may have to remain there. She was quite happy, and it did beg the question, just preempting moving on to the next bit, it did beg the question that, again, we've talked for a long time now about reconfiguring the layout of the market in terms of where we pitch the stall holders to try and make it more inviting to members of public so they can see onto the market and see what we've got. So this is an ideal opportunity to do that. And I must say, all of the traders that I've spoke to over the last two markets are quite up for working with us to make it more inviting and enticing for customers to come along. So it's not a case of closing the market fully. It's just taking off that entrance area, and it did impact on the traders, but we've discussed that and they're quite happy with that. As to move some of the stall holders down to what we used to call the lower market outside the Carnegie, I think we need to get traders back first. We need to fill the space that we've got. It is very, it's not the greatest of space to move some traders in with loading and offloading, and especially some of the restrictions we've got around the town at the moment in terms of additional barriers to help the flow of people. Wells Street lay-by area is now barriered off, and that would be a drop-off point for traders if they were trading on lower market. So I don't think we should entertain that just at this moment in time. Let's improve our market first, expand it, and let's tackle that problem. But certainly signage, absolutely one of the top priorities.
I can hear someone.
Can I say something, Chair?
Okay, Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, just wanted to say about the signage, because you know, the minute we put signage up there on the square, it can look messy and cluttered and a bit too busy. What about mobile signage, which we could put out the afternoon before the market, which is quite prominent. We could chain it to something so it doesn't get nicked, but it's quite prominent for people coming in and leaving the square there, and then it can be removed and then put out as necessary, rather than something fixed in place. Just an idea. Thank you.
Okay, Jenny. Councillor Hollis, did you have your hands up?
I think that's,
Yeah,
that is a new
thank
one.
you.
Yeah.
My suggestion for it moving down, putting some of the stalls down the lower marketplace was purely if we was losing a certain amount around the Guildhall of space, maybe we could move some down there.
Thank you. Yeah, that's how I took it. It'd be useful if we come out of this with some action points, and I think there's a clear steer that we need to review our use of signage around the market. If I've been reading the meeting correctly, and actually I'd like to see us develop a programme via social media of promoting our weekly markets.
I'll make a note of that, Chair.
Well, as long as I've got committee support, because at the end of the day I'm here to facilitate, not to actually direct the committee.
Thank you.
No, I agree with what you said.
As long as the
I
committee.
agree also.
Could I make a suggestion, Mark?
Please do.
Now you're ensconced as chair of VEM, and you are our current mayor. A couple of years ago, Councillor Crawford, when he was mayor, he did a really nice piece in terms of visiting the market, talking to all the traders, and we did quite a nice profile on that. It would be very nice if the mayor actually welcomed the market traders back, and it gives us an opportunity to highlight some of the traders that have returned, and hopefully we can make that call to action to support them.
Can I jump in there, Chair?
Please do.
I think the market traders have suffered enough the last few weeks.
Now that's funny.
No, I'm only joking. I think that's a great idea, David.
Councillor Jeremy.
Yeah, you'll cut me off now. I think that's a great idea. And what I would suggest, videos are so the way to go now, particularly on social media. I mean, I love the little graphic that somebody at the council did about the market. But Mark, if you were to go out in your chain, being filmed, even if there's, you're not film talking, just, clips of you talking to the traders, you have confidence to go and support them and buy stuff from them. Look at all these nice stuff that, you can buy from the market. I think that would be great. The only other thing I was going to ask, David, is there's quite a difference in the people that visit the Tuesday market to the Saturday. Some people go down on a Saturday, some people go down on a Tuesday. It's different, it's not the same people often. Is there a difference between the stalls returning on a Tuesday than it is on a Saturday? Because we've focused on the Saturday today. What's the score with Tuesday traders?
It's been a bit of a funny one of late over the last few years. Tuesday always used to be our biggest market. I mean, contrary to some people's perceptions of the market, as little as 3 or 4 years ago, Tuesday did have 12 to 16, even 20 stalls on, because there's less choice for the traders to find other bigger markets, which happens on a Saturday. Funny enough, Tuesday has slowed down a little bit, and we've got a few bigger stalls on Saturday. They've always been different. We've always had a different fruit and veg and plant stall from Saturday to Tuesday, so they do differ. But then the clientele does as well. When most people are working on a Tuesday, you can't get down, but on Saturday you get a completely different demographic. So it is different. But we need to try and encourage more traders back. Again, the conversations I was having with the traders over the last couple of markets, they are of a mind to try and entice people from other markets that they visit, to say that Thetford's up and running again. We're welcoming, and our rates are very competitive. They are good. So why not come back to Thetford? So hopefully we'll see it. But yeah, there has always been a difference between Saturday and Tuesday in terms of stalls as well as customers.
Can I just come back on that?
Please do.
Are we going to have the fruit and veg store on the Tuesday then? Because I know they're back for Saturdays, which is great, but a lot of older people that go down on a Tuesday, that's quite key. So are they specifically coming back?
The fruit and veg on a Tuesday is not returning, I'm afraid. So we are working hard to try and encourage another fruit and veg stall to attend. So we are going to be without a fruit and veg stall for at least a couple of weeks. But some of our traders are trying to help us in that respect, and hopefully we'll get a new one in the next couple of weeks.
Lovely, thank you. Can I just make one final point, Chair?
Please.
Sorry, I like these virtual meetings. I can make notes at the same time. Thank you for that, David. That's useful. The only other thing I was going to suggest is obviously Breckland have come up with this discretionary grant scheme, specifically mentions market traders. Have we, because obviously we will hold their contact details, Breckland not necessarily will. Have we contacted all of our market traders and given them the link and encouraged them to apply for that? It's quite time sensitive, so I wouldn't want anyone to miss out.
We have. We've sent it all to the links. The actual, I think the conditions of that grant only specifically apply to regular traders, not casual traders. And casual is those that can choose week by week if they attend. Regulars commit to a regular attendance. I have talked to a couple of traders who have made contact, and we have helped them in terms of giving them the documentation that hopefully will support their grant. But yes, they have, and thankfully some of them are actually trying to take it up.
No, thanks for confirming that.
Well, I don't think I've got any more comments on this subject. I think we've come out with some action points there, David. I've had a message from the Mayoress. She's happy that we're going to go shopping apparently on the market. So thanks for that one. And I'll engage with you offline about how we can support, if that's okay. I'm just going to move on to the second part of this item, which is to review the trading terms and conditions for our market stall holders. Over to you, David.
Okay, I think you got a copy with the supporting documents, which is our current terms and conditions of trading on the market. And again, we have over quite a long period of time talked about reconfiguring the market, looking at a different market toll payment system. And again, the discussions I've had over the last couple of markets, they are very conducive to sort of working with us to try and help improve the market. Some of the other things that we've talked about is the use of card payments. And it's good to see that some have returned, actually realising, not just from a safety point of view in this current situation, but from a business point of view, that they now offer card payments. But we need to look at several different issues. Some are positive and helpful to the traders and ourselves. I think a grid system of payment is a lot fairer. And again, we were looking at the size of stalls over the last two markets, and I don't think it will make that much difference to our current traders, so that's not going to cost them any more. But going forward, as we hopefully attract new traders, for our market supervisor, it's going to be a lot easier to determine the fair and relevant payments that they're expected to pay. Also doing a little bit of competitive analysis with other markets. The other markets operate schemes such as the first 4 weeks, for instance, for a new trader, still deciding whether Thetford is the right place to come. They can adopt what we call a casual trader status. So they would pay on a weekly basis for 4 weeks. And then after 4 weeks, they would have to revert, if we approve their application, revert to a regular trader status, which is 1 month in advance. Again, talking to most of the traders on Saturday, they seem to be very conducive to those new ideas. So I think possibly we've got an opportunity now. We've talked a lot in the past about doing things and some haven't really materialized, but we've got a lot of opportunity now where the traders are a little bit more happier to work with us because they're so keen to come back to work, that we can look at these little issues that we've identified in the past and trying to get those up and running. One of the big areas that we do have concerns about is the waste disposal service. Now, we are one of a very, very few markets in the area that actually offer this service still. In fact, if you look at our market traders currently, only 2 really used to waste disposal. Now, we have 5 waste bins allocated to both venues and markets, 3 of which we designate to the market, 2 traders using the waste disposal. 3 is a bit of an overkill, I think. Currently, our cost to budget for that is nearly £2,000 a year. Should we reduce that? Should we charge an extra for those traders that use it because it's only of a benefit to 2 and not the whole market? So these are the kind of things that we need to look at and consider. We did stand up a group last meeting on the 22nd to look at various different income streams and how we look at the whole aspect of our VEM budget going forward. Maybe, Chair, this is something that would be our first task. Maybe we look at the market, how we reinvigorate it, how we look at the marketplace as a whole, and bring it back to a future committee. So it's not for us to make any decisions today, but I'm just trying to gauge the appetite of councillors as to whether we should revisit these kind of terms and conditions at this moment in time.
Okay, I'm going to open it up. Do I have anybody? I don't see anybody with the hand up at the moment. Oh, crikey, speak too soon. Councillor Jeremy.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for that, David. I'm glad we're not sort of proposing to do anything today, because I think there's been enough sort of churn and upheaval over the last few weeks. I wouldn't want to make any changes at this moment because, frankly, people have got enough to worry about. But I agree it's something we should look at. The only thing that did jump out at me is in the terms and conditions where it talks about casual traders, and it says fees will be collected on the day, payable by cash. Well, we've pretty much insisted, I think, that market traders collect money from customers by card because we're trying to limit cash handling. I don't think it should be written into our policy there that it has to be cash. I think we should leave it open enough that it's electronic if at all possible. But are we actually moving towards accepting card payments from casual traders and not just taking cash? Really is the question. And given everybody else is moving to card, we should make that an option.
In answer to that, yes, we are. We actually need to look at that just from a safety perspective of the market supervisors. That's one of the benefits of a regular trader. Most of our regular traders who pay a month in advance pay by backs, so that's not an issue. But we have probably a handful of traders that are a casual status and they do prefer to pay cash. We have asked them from a safety perspective as to whether they could pay by card. We have the facility to take payments by card, and we will introduce that in the coming weeks as the traders come back. We've already had that conversation before lockdown and closure of the markets, and actually the response was really favourable. They were all up for it. So that's something we will introduce, Terry.
Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, I think we've got to be very careful here. There's no scientific evidence if we want to get into the weeds versus the cash card thing. We're talking about New World Order and all that. Now, I don't go anywhere at the minute that insists on just card. I only go to the places that take cash as well, because that's how much I'm trying to help. So therefore, if it's card only, I won't be supporting the market until they're taking cash. Now, our old people, the majority of old people, I work with old people all the time in my business, majority of them are using cash. So we've got to get the balance right, because if we're forcing people out in the market, we've got to be very careful with this card thing versus cash. That's all I'm saying. Thank you.
Could I just come back in there, Chair?
Please.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with Mark, actually. I think it should be an option to have both. I mean, I'm terrible for forgetting my wallet, but I do use Apple Pay quite a lot when I'm in the shop. But I never want to move towards, people being forced to pay electronically. The point I was making is our terms and conditions say fees will be collected on the day, payable by cash. So as today's action, really, if David's already saying we are actually already taking some by card, or we have the power to do that, we should, if one amendment we agree to would be to amend that. I just wanted to explore the safety point there, David, but presumably the market supervisor, if that's the correct word, is a council employee and therefore covered by our own procedures, because we take card payments, cash payments now in a number of ways. So there's not too much work to do to facilitate that. Is that right?
No, there's not too much to do. The reason when I say safety, yes, it is a council employee. They would be covered by our insurance, but you know, insurance is one thing. But when you're taking a cash payment off a market trader in a public area in full view of customers, you know, we need to think about the safety of our workers as well. Once the tea room gets up and running, the plan is, and we've discussed this with the traders, that they would come into the tea room to pay for their pitch fees by card. But again, hopefully in the future, if we try and persuade them to go down the regular trader status, it could be even need to buy them paying by backs or the like. Just going back to Councillor Taylor's point of view, when we talked about the traders coming back and we asked for their information as to what they would do to make sure their store was safe and appropriate in the circumstances, we did talk about payment methods. And our advice to them was that there are a lot of people at the moment who are fearful, whether you think it's right or not, are fearful of dealing with cash. And all we ask them to do is to put up clear signage to say that they do take card only or cash and card. The last thing you want to do is for someone to stand in a queue and get to the point of payment and realise that it's only cash if you don't want to deal with cash. So we're not precluding any trader to come if they only want to deal in cash. What we're saying is make your signage clear to your customers so they can make their informed choice themselves.
Can I just ask there, Chair, something?
Please do.
Yeah, I'm just wondering what David said there. Where are we actually getting our information from? Because again, you know, when you go into the scientific side, you know, there's a bit of guidance, but there's no, you know, if something is really, really bad and it's that virile, you will get something off the card or cash, whatever. Just, you know, just wanted to throw that in. And did we sort out the toilets again? Unless we get the toilet sorted out, I don't want to say what's happening in the wind. Thank you.
Councillor Barretto.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple of points. In regards to the payment system, I think we ought to be flexible. I see valid points from both sides. There's a lot of people who are using cash because of the transmission of the virus still, and there is people that's more confident we're using cash because it's just, you know, for small amounts, it saves them trips to the banks, which are closed at the moment, etc. So I think we ought to perhaps ask our stallholders to actually offer both payments. I'm in full agreement they should put a sign up and explain which payments systems they have before people queue up, saves people, you know, queuing time if that's not the case. But I think they ought to offer both systems to accommodate people with both ideologies. I had another point, but by the life of me, just I think escaped me. So I'm going to let you carry on with this one. I'll come back to it in a minute.
I'm just going to make a point on this item that we're thrashing the fees. And funny enough, I'd highlighted the same thing on the T&Cs. We're talking about the fees being collected by us as a council to our traders.
Right, Chair, got to me. That was my next point.
And I'm not sure how much we can influence the traders to how they trade and deliver their services and make demands like that. But they're all valid points. But I'm just going to offer this up. I'm quite happy. I won't give my reasons publicly, but I would strongly suggest that we move to accepting payments by debit card. I would strongly suggest that we take away fees collected on the day by cash. And I would move to payment by debit card, bank transfer, whatever to to make that a more easier transaction.
Sorry, Chair.
That's for the stallholders. Was that for stallholders?
I've got Councillor Barretto, then Councillor Taylor.
Can I just come back on that? Yeah, I don't disagree with that, Chair. I think card payments are more practical, and for people that is still where we're coming out, trying to the whole campaign of building confidence and coming in and use the public spaces and the public businesses in town, getting people the footfall in town. It makes sense to move to card payments, may give people the reassurance that our safety measures are in place. I wonder if it's a case of talking to the stallholders. It's if somebody is not, it doesn't have the the predisposition to use the card, they can actually go throughout the week, perhaps to a point in the Carnegie or a council point and pay, if they had to pay in cash, do it in a safe manner other than paying on the day. Would that be an option?
David,
Yep.
operationally, this falls with a good sell.
Yeah. Yeah, so all of that is possible, Carla, and that's something that we are putting into effect. As I said, once the Guildhall Tea Room is open, that will be our point of contact for the traders to come in and pay by card. We do have mobile card units, so we can take those payments. Can I say we have already had this discussion with the traders, and not one was dissatisfied with paying with card as opposed to insisting on paying cash. So in terms of paying for their stall fees, it will move to cashless agreements.
So if that's the case, can we change that, David, to the T's and C's reflect that?
Yeah, absolutely.
David,
well, sorry, Mark, what I'll do is once we've made those adjustments, what I'll do is I'll get every market stall holder to re-sign the terms and conditions so they've actually accepted the new terms.
And David, I wouldn't expect to see it in this document, but I take this document is underpinned also. It's underpinned with when annually we review risk assessments and the appropriate insurances from traders.
Yes, it does. Yeah, and again, we annually review all of those, as well as the tolls. We've already reviewed the tolls back in November, but their insurance and their risk assessments and liability insurance and things are reviewed and dealt with annually.
Thank you. Do I have any more?
Chair, could I just clarify something, please?
You can indeed.
Is in regards to your comment on David's. Sorry, David, maybe I didn't explain myself quite right. I'm not, I wasn't very particular on getting everybody to pay on card. I did say that I understand the need to move to cashless payments. And I'm happy that all the stallholders at the moment, they all are happy with that, and they are willing to sign terms to do that. My point was that if there's a stallholder that wants to come in or somebody, but they do not want to deal with cashless payments, that they have the opportunity to perhaps pay in cash if that's the only payment system that there's available to them or that they're willing to do, and just do it on through another point of payment throughout the week in one of the offices or something. So my point wasn't being exclusive to go to card payments. It's just that encourage them all to use card payments, but do not exclude anybody. It's just on the payment methods. That was it.
Thank you.
Chair.
Councillor Taylor.
Yeah, just a bit of clarification on your last point, Chair, about going to the debit card. I was a bit confused. Your recommendation there was for the stallholders to pay that way. That wasn't talking about the customers, was it?
No, I was talking about the fees because
sorry, just wanted clarification. That's all. Great.
Thank you. Subject to that, what is effectively a minor change, are we happy just to move on from this item?
Agreed, yeah.
Fantastic. I was watching faces. Before I move on to the next item, I'm just going to make a point. I am sitting here watching the attendance, and we've definitely, I can't see who, we've lost somebody out of the meeting, and I'm just going to ask as a courtesy, actually, to all chairs, if somebody has to leave a meeting, they should at least acknowledge and make people aware they left the meeting. Because I'm aware, looking at the numbers, we're not at the numbers we started the meeting with, and it does have an impact on voting, etc. And we are being watched by the public. So I'll be blunt. I think it's bad form to leave a meeting without announcing you've left the meeting. And I'm not particularly interested.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, this is Colin. Have you still got me down as being in the meeting?
We can hear you loud and clear, Colin. You sound like you're on Mount Sinai, but yes. Yes, we have. I'm not particularly interested in who's left the meeting, but somebody has, and I do think it's bad form that the public are not aware that a councillor's left at what is a public meeting.
I've still got.
I'm gonna move on. My gripe over. 4620 committee officers update. David?
Sorry, there's nothing to add. That's not on the agenda now.
Thank you. And finally, item 4720, community engagement.
Sorry, Chair, can I skip
a couple of things to talk
about? I do apologise. I've missed Terry with a hand. I do apologise.
Okay, yes, it was just all moving a bit quick. Just on the committee officers update, David, I apologies, I can never remember this as VEM or out, but I raised the point before about the area outside the Carnegie and the weed growth and sort of just generally looking a mess. I think it's been dealt with. It certainly looked a lot better when I drove past the other day, but perhaps you could just let us know how we're getting on with sort of keeping the area looking good.
Well, as again, from the last meeting, Terry, I did say that, you know, that is one of the anomalies that is the responsibilities of different committees. That actually comes under out. But we do have a weekly ops meeting where all staff members are involved. And I did take the point at that time through to the appropriate officer. The answer at that time was that it does take up to 14 days for the weed killing solution or whatever you call it to take effect, but they were instructed to come back and deal with it again, and as you say, it looks a lot better. Staff are back onto cleaning and tidying schedule, so hopefully we can keep it looking as good as it is at the moment.
Lovely, thank you.
Thank you. And we move to item 4720, which is community engagement, to discuss any consultation on media release.
So the big thing that we've got coming out of this meeting is your attendance at the market.
Sorry, David, can you repeat
your attendance at a market? So you know, that will be going out. We can push that out on all social media. We can do some press releases, etc. So the big thing is from this meeting is the market and welcoming back our traders. And then hopefully going forward before the next meeting, we will be doing some regular updates of the refurbishment work in the Guildhall. So once contractors are on site, we will do updates of how they're getting on and how the improvements are going to benefit the public. So 2 of those points that you'll see over the next few weeks until the next meeting.
Thank you. And so I'll pick up my little piece with you offline in the not too distant future.
Okay.
Brilliant. Thank you, colleagues. I think that brings us to the close of our meeting. It's good to see you all, albeit virtually. Stay safe and well, and I look forward to catching up with you soon. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.